year.
Yeah, well, I think we should be focused on where this is going to go in the next month. Right? So there's a lot to cover. Thank you for all of that. I have books, I'll give you two. One is called Everywhere. This is written by our chairman, my good friend Larry Weber, who's written 3 books. Of all of them, this is it. This is his last, but also probably his best. And it talks about comprehensive social media strategies. So the warriors should read this. Now, I think it's important because many of the things you're talking about, if you said, I work, the #1 brand that you should be representing is yourself. So put that in context where today we're going to be talking about different companies, who's doing it right, who's doing it maybe not as well as others. What if you were the brand? And you had to find out, how am I going to extend my brand reach to people? If you do that, I'll do anything wisely, and you'll measure it. Because you know the return is only about me. Only about me. And ultimately, that's what we're talking about. A lot of people say there's messages over here, company messages, and then there's people over here. So traditional marketing looked like this. And if you took any class with marketing, and even if you didn't, if you weren't in finance, you know this. X, C, product, consumer. Fastest way to get there? Okay, right? That straight line, and then all of here is called noise, right? Right? So you have to break through the noise, and that's why we have advertising. And then there's a loop, gets here, then you get measurement, you get it all the way back. Basically. Today we're going to talk about technologies that blow this up. Because instead of going this way, they go this way. The opposite. We're going to let go of the brand today. So let me just give you a sense of an overview. What you're seeing up here are many things that we can talk about. Social media, now sit back, put your head back, I know this is a little high. Search, branding, mobile, PR, analytics, measurement. There's just so many things. You know, how many have children here? So you might recall, even if you don't, growing up with Prodigy or AOL. And what was the term that we'd say? We're going online. Going online. This generation doesn't go online. They just are. So imagine, there's an opportunity as a marketer. We're trying to figure out when's the right time to get them. Right now. They're there. In fact, they're actually having a conversation without you. So while we're there wringing our hands, what's the right strategy? We better build a website. Well, why would we build a website when the conversations are taking place? Oh, we need a strategy to get in. Strategy to get in. Many things for marketers to consider. Significant. From micro-segmentation, rich media, socialization. Globally speaking, when you followed the news coming out of Egypt, right, last year? Mm-hmm. So that situation in Egypt has been brewing for what, 50 years? Mm-hmm. Easily, if not longer. And that government was toppled without a gunshot. How? Socialization. Social coordination through social media. We didn't need a lot of people, we needed a lot of chatter. All of a sudden, things start happening. So if you think that it's a fad, and trust me, many people that I meet with, that them their Twitter. You know, what's that going on? What's that all about? The truth is, that's not a fad. That's the beginning. The next one and the next one will completely shift everything we know about buying, about communicating, about interacting, about socializing around the globe. It's a really exciting time to be in marketing. I think a good equation for you to know is influence. So what do we mean by influence? Let's take, because I'm a Warriors fan, let's take that brand. Okay? Influence plus brand equals reputation. Who are the influencers for the Warriors? Players. Another one. The fans. So if you knew the fans were saying something bad, thus, bad things plus brand equals the reputation. If you have the fans saying something good, plus brand equals positive reputation. So you know that's much different when we were focused on what the product on the court and what's happening in the Coliseum. Now we're worried about what are the motives, what do the fans think? How can we get them interacting in a more positive, genuine way, building our own brand reputation? Then ultimately, how do we measure it? Right? How do we measure it? I think in 1999, we were introduced to Web 1.0. You all knew that as Lycos or AOL. And then there was Web 2.0, which is what we're talking about just 5 years ago. And now we're talking about Web 3.0. And the truth is, the web, like you know, you have instant communication in your hand. Heavy, heavy mobile society. Heavy mobile society. And I think as marketers, we look at North America, and you all still have landlines, and we have Comcast, and we have all of these things. But if you go to South Korea, or if you go to Brazil, they skip that, right? That stuff doesn't exist. You just have, and it's usually on your phone. If you work for PG&E, energy, right? Consider in Rwanda, or Egypt, or even Jakarta, energy blackouts are common. So how do they get energy? Solar. So their phones are plugged into solar. It's constant. Those issues that we have here do not exist. They've leapfrogged us. Thus, it's a very open source society. New technology is developed there through 1-2 generations ahead. What we're seeing and having issues with, they've passed. That's another conversation for another class on politics, and one day we'll get there. I think having a digital DNA, and I think the 4 things that we want to talk about from a marketing perspective, and if you're in finance, you understand the paid side. Pay for an ad, get this many readers, get a return. On the earned side, more of a PR function, pitch a story to a reporter, get a story placed, hopefully get a good feeling, right? I mean, that's old school. Now, we have a combination of bloggers. Who has a blog here? What do you blog about?
Leadership.
Leadership. Anyone else? What do you blog about?
Running.
There it is. Running. So when we talk about Nike, we now know the buyer is out there having a discussion. We didn't have that opportunity 10 years ago, right? We knew there was a shoe buyer, and we knew there was a passionate shoe buyer, but the passionate shoe buyer had no idea how to communicate and talk about running and encourage more people to talk about, thus wanting information from brands who help her run. Huge opportunity. How do we get there? So, Facebook fans? Everyone have a Facebook account?
No.
No? Who doesn't? You're hanging on, you're hanging on. 500 million people cannot be right. I know. How about Twitter? Twitter? 1. How about Tumblr? Dig. Delicious.
Dig is awesome.
Dig is awesome. Reputation aggregator. Lots to cover. We're moving toward digital environments. Don't forget, social impact. From a company standpoint, we can do all of these things to communicate with our constituents and our consumers. But ultimately, what that does, unlike any other technology, it lets me examine the DNA of a brand. So, if I am working for a shoe manufacturer, and I'm manufacturing goods in the Far East, and there's no compliance issues on the making or guidelines on what I pay the workers or how I organize myself, guess who gets to know that? We do, immediately. Because we're now connected in a way we weren't before, and that also lets me tell you I'm not happy. So sometimes when we're in companies, you launch a Facebook account because it seems like the right thing to do, and you put it up, and you put up Twitter, and then the feedback comes in, and you just go, well, whose job is that? Whose job description is engagement? And there isn't one, because you forget. So there's so much of planning in social media is what happens when it works. People are like, oh, we got a Facebook account. Oh my God, there's people on it. You turn it off. You can't. It's too late. So you really have to know what you're doing. I think people who do it right are Nike. I think people who do it right are Cisco. Two different, right? B2B, B2C. Business to business, business to consumer. Some brands you buy, some brands you don't want to, but you're happy they're there. Do you really know, do you buy anything from Cisco?
Router. They own Linksys now, so.
That's right. So is Linksys a popular brand? Yeah. So you're thrilled that that works. You don't really want to know the ingredients, you just want to know it works. All right. Here's a way to get started. I'm just kidding. This is not whiteboarding. So you'll see a lot of whiteboarding that we'll have an opportunity to do today. And I think that's the best way to do it. Reasonable? That's a little bit about us, but we'll talk about that later. All right. Let me walk you through briefly what I would tell a chief executive officer or anyone in the C-suite about social media. We call this our Social Media Institute, and the reason why is some of you are at different levels. So we'll explain microblogging, social networking, e-community, search engine optimization, a little bit on each, because it's kind of like wearing a belt with a lot of bullets. I never know which one I'm going to need. And when you write a plan, this is your arsenal. You get to choose based on what does the audience want, not what you want as a company. It's okay that you want a Facebook account, but if you find that your audience isn't on Facebook, why would you make one? Now, 500 million people are on Facebook, so chances are you should have one. But the right one, for the right purpose. Yeah? Make sense so far? Okay. So let's dive in a little bit here. What's the most popular one? Okay, so it's definitely Facebook. Is it MySpace? How much did Rupert Murdoch pay for MySpace? $835 million. How much did he sell for? 35.
Wow. Yeah, it's
Just a small account. So we know just, and I think the numbers are pretty close. That was a while ago, maybe 8 years ago. We know that's how quickly things change. So if you're a student of social media, you might recall a brand called Friendster. Right? I had some good friends who invested heavily in Friendster. And what happened? It's a shame because that was probably the cusp, the cutting edge, the one. And it just kind of fizzled out. And some kids from Harvard and all this other stuff happened and boom, Friendster who? Things change quickly, so what's hot today may not necessarily be hot tomorrow. You just don't know. LinkedIn, incredibly popular. There's a new brand coming LinkedIn's profile is 30 to 50. So if you're in 30 to 50, you're probably in LinkedIn. But there isn't a LinkedIn for college students. Yet the buyer of talent wants that. So they go to LinkedIn, and of course, you have two people that you know, and you have a recommendation from your professor. So all of us are like, so we go to Facebook. It's like, so it's a different buying opportunity. So there are brands coming that are very targeted toward the college graduates to build their own brand reputation, their own digital DNA, as the buyer of talent needs to find the pool. Right now it's called the Career Center. The Career Center is going to go and get in for a change pretty quickly. Real quick.
Couldn't LinkedIn subvert that by putting a focus on that market segment?
I wonder, when we talk to them, I don't know. And let me ask you this. If you're 16, you don't know LinkedIn. That's your dad's. That's your mom's. You're 18.
But if you're 22.
But if you're 22, you're just getting ready to graduate. So they're thinking, how do I stand out? It's difficult to stand out on LinkedIn, right? You have to have content, and there's a way to do it. But they have all this content on Facebook. Why can't I do that? Well, because it's a different selling proposition. I think they could. I think you can only be so many things to so many people. Now, what might happen, though, is a couple other brands come in and say, I like that. Why don't we acquire? Probably a very natural business move, right? Let someone else do the heavy lifting. And I'll just,
Acquired, right.
Sure. Cisco does a real good job. Many brands do. Okay. So I don't think you can see this too well. But 40% of respondents interact with retailers through social networking sites. Now, that's probably not news to you. But the first thing they do is not necessarily about products, it's about promotions. What's the deal? Groupon. Yeah. Groupon is what? Couponing. When did that get back in vogue? It's because it's about the deal. Social communication has moving now from communicating one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many buying. Because now it's a commerce play. We talked about that in 1999. It was called Webvan. Right? We just couldn't get it done. Couldn't get it. Now there is an infrastructure and a built-in priority. If the Warriors or the Sharks ran a promotion that for every 2 tickets sold, there's 2 free. Oh my God, it would be a mad rush online and shut down the network. Because people are hungry for the deal, especially for a brand that has a solid reputation. Right? So we're looking at a 4-step process. Listen. You need a tool to listen. You need a tool to listen. You can't write a plan, and you can't measure a plan without knowing what people are saying. You need a plan. And the plan has many, many opportunities. There's traditional, there's social, and then there's, the down and dirty, hand to flesh, right? I mean, you still got to get to know people. We'll just call that political for now. And I think you know that if you're a politician, it can be very, very powerful. You need an implementation strategy. What's the right trigger? And how do I change it on the fly? We may think Twitter is the right thing, and all of a sudden, oh my God, the audience moved. What's the social media strategy that moves with them? Happens. Don't do anything without this word. It's not worth it. Measure. Do not do anything unless you can measure it. Ultimately, if you're a marketer and you're spending money, someone's going to say what I get for it. That is not news. That's been around for a long time. But you need to set the priorities. And that's set here. Objectives. If you do not have measurable objectives, you don't know what you're measuring. Can't. It's impossible. So it could be as simple as sell shoes or sell tickets or acquire customers. Right? Simple objectives. You get here, you do this great plan, everyone's talking about you, the buzz. Did you get any new customers? No. But everyone's talking about us. Did you get the right return? No. But you're listening, so you do it again. This social media loop is something I would recommend for you, especially if you're just starting out. Very simple, but very rigorous. This is more on B2B buyers. And you can see the top one, very top one, reads forums and discussion groups. Companies have, for years, built these glamorous websites. Yeah, you've seen them. Unbelievable websites. And they look like this. Right? And they have a couple pages up here. And then they have a box right here with a great video. And they have a little content right here. And they have a little ad right here. And on the bottom, it's about us and all the good stuff right here. For the most part, am I right? Yeah. And then they find out no one's going to our website. Yet we dumped all this money into it. Where are they going? Your customer is having conversations over here, over here, over here. How come we're not investing in that? So keep that in mind as a marketer. You want to make sure you have the money. Build the right thing. Build the right thing. Build the right thing where your customers are. It's your responsibility to bring them and to go find them. 4 areas. So this is a good slide to know. Good slide to know. Because we're going to talk about our 4. And I think if you're a newbie or an entry or just trying to learn something, this is a good place to start. Blogs and news sites. Reputation aggregators. So if you're in a meeting and you say, let's check out the reputation aggregator, your boss will go, heck yeah, now we're talking. They'll have no idea what that means, but you will. Social networks, which of course you get. E-communities, which are very niche. You knew these 4, you'd be on your way.
Are these in handouts?
I'll make this copy digital because it's too much. But this book and a couple of the handouts will have a lot of things. You don't have to implement them, but give you some food for thought. Food for thought. We'll talk about this. Probably the most important one. Probably. So what's a blog? Pretty simple stuff. You all had journals growing up. Your kids do. Their friends do. They're just now online. And they haven't figured out that maybe some things should stay private. Some things are better left unsaid. They're working on it. That's the society we're in. Now, let's take it off the personal level and take it to the political level. Let's say, who was that wonderful congressman in New York? Yeah, so let's say he had a blog. Let's say, what type of content would be on his blog? What type of content would most politicians have on their blog? Community, policy, very active. That's my job. I'm for the people. So there's a persona, a digital DNA. The face of a politician can be found not just on their website, but on their blog. We'll get to the other stuff later. If you're a company, you go to that same website Who's the face of the company? In a business setting. In a business setting, who is typically the face of the company? The CEO. CEO, right? On a consumer side, who might it be? Well, it's definitely the customer, but if you're in, if you're in consumer, product, brand, consumer packaged goods, whiter whites.
It's the image.
Yeah, it's all branding. So you have all this, but most of us, if we just decided that there are conversations over here, this isn't a conversation, this is a glorified ad. I need a blog. I need to converse. So, we make one. We put it right here, front and center, content, crisp, looks good, big face of the CEO. Yeah. And then no one reads it. Because we've already determined no one's going to the website. So how do you get a return? How do you get a return? How do people find it?
Don't they do that on the evaluations, or what do they call that, where the people send back information on it? That's not enough of a hit.
Is your question, can you do it again? I'm sorry.
No, you know, if you're going to a website, like
Yep.
you said, can't you then bring up customer satisfaction on the products?
You can. So that's another.
Not enough. Is that enough of a hit? No.
No, because that's going to be, if it's customer-centric on a product, sadly, that's going to be this button. It's going to take you to a new page. You're going to fill out blindly what this is, because now you're a URL, right? Because you don't want to know who you are. There are other ways. So that would have been in Web 2.0. Yes.
I see a lot of teaser content on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Yeah.
And Jackie does a lot of this.
Oh, yeah.
Posting teaser content that leads back to the mother site. So that I think that drives some traffic.
That's right. You got
Get
it.
some conversation.
There's some conversation going there.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Twitter is great.
Twitter's great. So you know what a blogger is? The term blogosphere, you know what that means? It's the ecosystem of all the people interested in what you're talking about. More or less. It's your connected points. This is what a typical blog looks like. So, for those of you who don't blog, this is kind of pedantic, right? It's like, do I really need to know this? If you want to make a transition into a job, yeah. If you want to get from X to marketing, know this. Because someone in the room doesn't, and you're the authority. So if you don't know it, it's very hard to sell it, right? Last post, blog name, very simple stuff. Very simple stuff, but commit it to memory. This is, since we're talking about blogging, not websites, you're talking about additional posts. So let me just take a minute, because this is an important point. The blog, we've already established this here. Hit the blog comes up, and usually at the bottom, what it will say, have a comment, ask me anything, give me a question. Your favorite news sites have it, your favorite blogs have it. And as a marketer, it's really important on return on investment and measurement. We go to the blog and we look at the content. It's like, are our messages in the content? They are. So we're done. The sad part is, it's here. So here's the blog. It's this part, the trail of thoughts of all the conversation. This is where you have to measure. We already know what you said. What's everyone else saying? Listen. The listening technique does not happen on the blog, it happens in the comments. That's a huge amount of time. Someone's got to read them. There are different technologies you can, to track words and things like that, absolutely. But there's you can't shortchange this stuff. Someone has to dive in and understand what are the audience saying. Very simple, right? That's what it looks like. You can make a blog on blogger.com. You can make it on, anyone familiar with WordPress? Use it? Yeah.
Tough one.
Good, good. The most simple, I think, and the best looking is WordPress. Easy technology, click boxes, create blogs, post real time, edit real time, turn it from public to private, can handle it through mobile. It is not scary. It does take a little time, but I'd invest the time in creating one. So much of this for you where you are is experimentation. Try it. No one gets hurt. You have a running blog, swimming blog, nutrition, food. Find what you're passionate about. Try it. You'll see. You'll see some of these techniques and you'll start seeing the numbers. You'll, oh my God, it works. Apply that to your professional world fivefold. Twitter. How many characters?
145.
140.
Oops.
You're out. No, you're out.
But you're close.
We are living in a recommendation-based society, right? If Sean says, tweet something, I like it, I retweet it, I have 500 followers, they retweet it, Sean's real popular. All of a sudden he's got 500 new followers or whatever. This is it. This is the new press release. This is the new press release. Press release is usually 500 words if you have any PR training. If you don't, it is 250 to 500 words. No more, no less. You can't take any more. What's great about Twitter, if you sell it right, most of the C-suite don't understand it. Let's call it what it is, right? They don't. Oh, I can't get anything done in 140 characters. What we've been talking about is we have a website that no one goes to. We got to get traffic there. We better listen to where our conversations take place. What's our plan to get them here? Twitter is an easy one. Have you heard of this? Bitly? Who hasn't? Okay. So let's say on a website, you've just written a blog on your website. Custom, brand new, looks fantastic. And the URL address, everyone know what that is? Is 75 characters long. You're like, that's half your message on Twitter. You take this to a website called Bitly, make an account. You can shrink the 75 characters to 6. 6 characters. Okay, so now you've just saved space. What happens with Bitly, every time someone clicks on this new URL, I'm notified and I get to count. So I actually know the traffic is free. I know the number, the traffic of people coming to this destination. Yeah? So let's stay on the running thing. What was your name again?
Courtney.
Courtney's launched a new blog, great content, and she's trying to build something. God bless you.
Thank you.
Build something for herself. Awesome. So she goes to her Twitter account, and she writes, rocking and rolling in Tahoe at a marathon, colon, site. That's her URL. That's her blog. Yeah? Everyone following me so far? Courtney, how many followers do you have?
My friends.
Okay, so she's got 2. No. Let's say she has 300 followers. 300 followers. So she knows 300 of her closest friends are going to see this link. 10% are going to hit this. That's all right. Now, what if she wants to extend it? She could do this. Rocking and rolling at Tahoe Marathon. URL, hashtag, running. Everyone know what the hashtag does? Hashtag is the symbol for anyone in the ecosystem of running. So her 300 just went to 3 million. So pick a conversation. When you go to Twitter, you'll see on the right-hand column, bless you, trending. Trending. So what's hot right now? How they know what's hot is this. Where are the most conversations? So if you want to dial it when there was a really unfortunate nuclear incident in Japan, not only did that light up, you could see the trending by the hashtag and also the number of just constant communications. Yes, sir?
Can you use multiple hashtags?
You can use multiple. Let me show you a couple. Here's a sample of a website. This is GE, corporate. But it's what you should be tweeting about, your opinions, your content, questions, engagement. How do you know where the conversations are? I recommend Tweetdeck. Tweetdeck was recently acquired by Twitter. It looks something similar to this. So here's just a screen. It's free. You'll have as many columns as you like. In each column, there's a box, hashtag, and the favorite topic of your choice. Running. All of a sudden, anyone who's talking about running comes up. Basketball. Anyone talking about basketball comes up. Japan. Anyone talking about Japan? Libya. Gaddafi. All of a sudden, the world got real small. Now you're competing to try to move your 300. Happiness for you would be 500.
But how do you get people to follow you? Like, they don't care what I'm saying. So
No, you gotta. So there's a couple things, right? When we get there, we'll show you in the next hour. We're gonna take a break in about 5 minutes, clear our head, and then we'll talk about that. Okay. This is what it looks like. I could have saved the ink. Tweetdeck.com. All types of financial institutions do it. This is engagement. So if you're going to set a strategy, make sure someone's running the Twitter account. Don't just tweet and then walk away. You might be surprised that people respond here. A lot. Reputation aggregators. Important. Important. Dig, Reddit, Delicious. All that means you find a column in the New York Times, you read it. I like it. I'm going to dig it. You're archiving it for you. But if someone else goes to dig and sees this same column and digs it, its popularity rises. So by default, you understand it's a barometer of pop culture. It's another way, like Twitter is trending, this is digging. So you're seeing what people are mostly interested in. All of this content as a marketer was unavailable to the cheap guy years ago, right? We had to hire a research consultancy, we had to go talk to people. We do it right now, have it in 5 minutes. Is it pure? No. Still got to get out there and do focus groups and so on, but you have a real good sense of what the conversations. You're listening. All of these are listening tools. This is real simple stuff that you can have. Example, there's my favorite guy. He's got issues. But he's going to be in a new movie. Write that down. Write that down. Social networks. 500 million people can't be wrong. Facebook's got to be right. Get one. Don't hold out for too long. It's going to pass you by.
Wait to the end of the Practicum and then I'll see. Just go to Google Plus, it's the next one.
It's the next big thing. It's the next big thing.
Yeah.
Google Plus. This is our company's Facebook page. So one thing companies should be thinking about, of course, is if you know your future hires are on Facebook, shouldn't you have one too? No 21-year-old is going to work for a company that doesn't have a Facebook account, right? So if you're not even with that, I mean, come on. So you got to have all these things. How you use them is the issue. What are the guidelines? What's appropriate? When? Where? That's parenting 101, right? Parenting 101. Fan pages. One thing about fan pages. So when, you know, the news on fan pages is an important slide. On Facebook, everything's behind the wall. Google Plus, a little bit different. But fan pages aren't necessarily behind the wall. So if you knew that you had 537 fans and you wanted to get to them, you could. That doesn't that's just a shout out, that's just a quick message. It's not an engagement strategy, but it is identification. This is how you start. There's 537 fans. Put out a note to the fans, they write back, you know there's an interested population about your message. Another listening tool. Free. Free. LinkedIn, we could talk about LinkedIn forever. Incredibly set the pace, right, for the return of the IPO. Lots going on here, there'll be more, lots more. We anticipate early next year. Yeah, a big one, a real big one. 5 ways to use LinkedIn to market your company. So there's a bit more than 5 here, of course. I got excited. But I think the easiest one is create a poll. Join relevant conversations. They're there. Don't just do it because people are doing it. Do it for a purpose. You're looking to recruit staff. You're looking to find new markets. Trying to find conversations on the competition. Simple, easy tools that you're already part of. Last thing we'll cover. E-communities. And the reason why we spend time here is there are not, even though everyone's on Facebook, and I mean that seriously, in other markets in Brazil, it's not Facebook, it's Orchid, which is owned by Google. Dwarfs Facebook there. Lots of them.
What is it called?
Orchid?
Orchid.
But within Facebook, there are communities dedicated and passionate to subject matters. Cancer prevention, melanoma, running, empowerment, wellness. Facebook is a very important social network, but there are living and breathing communities, which that's what they talk about only. And if you're on Facebook, that may not be the most appropriate place for you, right? Because you want to talk about many things. These are deep, entrenched, with depth conversations about subjects ranging from toes to foot doctors. Get out of the gutter. To sports. Important. So these communities exist. They've existed for a long time. The social networks and the microblogging strategies we talked about help you reach those communities. Bring your content to them, and with hope, bring them back. Okay?